migration here was not easy. Connecting with a lot of people was not that easy. So mostly we stayed home. So I remember we used to cry.
A person, a staffer of an immigrant organization, she told me that I wasn't allowed to receive any benefits or even that my refugee status could be revoked.
So I grew up in the foster care system from the age of 3 to 14. So I experienced a lot of racism from a very young age to even now, today.
Coming to Calgary, it was like coming to a new country. Although it was within the same country, but it looked as if I was in a new country. The language was different, the culture, and so many things was new for me here.
I came here as a teenager, as a 17-year-old, and planning to go to university. But I was enrolled in university and I was very, very lonely because I found that people didn't talk to me because I was different. I was a person of color in a sea of white people, so it was really, really tough.
Calgary, a city with boundless opportunities and rich diversity, reflects the hopes, aspirations, and challenges of the people who call it home. Yet, behind its skyline are the untold stories of racialized people and ethnocultural groups. Stories of resilience, courage, and a relentless fight against racism. This is the unfolding stories of racialized and immigrant communities. A story of strength, resilience, unity, and hope.
ActionDignity is an organization that does a lot of great work in the community, supporting the racialized communities. And the essence of this documentation is to look at racialized communities that we work with through the program of the social and economic inclusion. And we want to hear their stories. A lot of marginalized communities feel very marginalized, feel that their voices are not being heard. And so it's a great way to document their stories so that we can help in amplifying their voices.
In 2002, ActionDignity was established with a sole vision of creating a just and fair society in Calgary. This organization has gone through transformations, but currently our mission statement is really to work with ethnocultural communities, racialized communities, equity-seeking groups, to really create a transformational change in our society and communities. And when I talk about transformational changes, I'm talking about transformational changes in the areas of gender equity, public safety, workers' rights, systems change and mental health issues. These are the areas of focus for ActionDignity.
At the heart of our mission at ActionDignity is to create transformational change in the community and society by working with ethnocultural, racialized, and equity-seeking groups. The people's stories reflect the essence of our work: to empower communities, amplify voices, and break down barriers because everyone is worthy of dignity and respect.
So these stories that we are documenting, it's a way for members of the community to hear their voices. It creates the platform for them to amplify the voices of those people that we have relegated to the background, those people that their voices are not being heard, and who often feel that they are marginalized.
Hi, my name is Nazim Ismail, and I've been in Canada for almost 50 years. It'll be 50 years next year in spring. And I came here as a teenager, as a 17-year-old, and planning to go to university. But I was enrolled in university and I was very, very lonely because I found that people didn't talk to me because I was different. I was a person of color in a sea of white people, so it was really, really tough. And I met somebody from Tanzania, and I, got married because I thought it would be better my life, right? So that was the one mistake I made, I feel, because I should have continued studying and not been worried so much about being lonely. In the meantime, I had 2 children, and life was busy. And when in my 50s, I finally decided that this is it. I'm going to get that education that I always wanted. So for my 50th birthday, I gave myself a gift of education. They said that I had to have an English aptitude test in order to apply for a university. And guess what? The aptitude test could only be taken in Manitoba. So you had to travel to Manitoba to go get the aptitude test, which was kind of crazy. So I asked, is there anything I can do? Can I just take one course at the university? He said, sure, you can take one course at the university, but you can't apply as a student. So this is fine. So what did I do? I went and applied for an English course. I didn't take the low-level English course. I took the higher-level English course. And, the person who was enrolling me laughed. She said, I'm sure you'll fail at this course because it's a very tough course. I said, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. Guess what I did? I passed with an A in that course. And then I went to the dean's office and showed her my report. See, I did this English course and I got an A in it. So does that mean that I can speak English and I understand English? So she says, yeah, that does mean that. So, okay, sure, we'll enroll you. So they did. That's how I ended up in the university. And I actually finished with a double major in English and women's studies. My plan was to go and get a lawyer's degree because I had seen how tough it was for immigrants and for women here in Canada. So I wanted to become a lawyer in order to help women mostly because I myself had a very tough marriage. So I wanted to make sure that other women didn't go through what I went through. So I wanted to do that, but unfortunately my health didn't keep up.
In my case, it was a little bit different. When I came with the mind that I have to do the same I was doing in my country, like provide a beautiful house to my family, good income in the house so we can have food, education, and everything that we needed. And didn't happen that way. I wanted to go through my professional background in international law and that kind of thing. However, I have one of the maybe learning learning moment in my life in which a person, a staffer of an immigrant organization, she told me that I wasn't allowed to receive any benefits or even that my refugee status could be revoked. And I was shocked by that. And I decided not to go back ever to any organization like that. And I decided, you know what, I have to work hard. And I went to work in construction, which I don't regret. I became a gravel truck driver. I worked in that area, in that industry for a long time. But at the same time, I developed I developed something in me that told me, okay, what happened to me is not what happened to everybody. And I made a decision, and I decided to work, within my Venezuelan community. And I've been involved in a lot of volunteerism. Actually, this organization that I was refused support, I worked for them for so many years as a volunteer, providing interpretation into Spanish with people, and I love to do that. I also help them in some programs that provide support to all kind of immigrants to Canada.
Migration here was not easy. Connecting with a lot of people was not that easy. So mostly we stayed home. So I remember we used to cry and tell our grandpa, we never want to be here. We want to come back. Another challenge was my marriage. So I think we were not compatible to each other, and the struggles on the side of the marriage also were kicking in. And so I was trying my best, but it was getting a little too abusive. So it was not connecting, and it was difficult. I was trying to keep family happy, and also there was an urge to stand up for myself as well. So emotional abuse, financial, physical, all together, it was not easy. Losing a child and then still facing the abuse. Um, it was too much on my brain. It went to a point where I could not even stand it. For like verbal abuse was constant. If I'm 3 hours at home, it's 3 hours of that swearing. My parents tried to talk to him, nothing worked, and then I think it was the plan that to take me to a point where I would leave, so the community will say that she's the one who left me, and that's actually what happened then.
I've been living in Calgary since 1984. We moved here. So I grew up in the foster care system from the age of 3 to 14. So I experienced a lot of racism from a very young age to even now, today. And myself being a survivor of foster care, alcoholism, family violence, racism, a lot of things. The first time I remember my first racism, I can remember it was at school, and I didn't understand why the teacher kept telling me my math questions were wrong, and they were right. Coming out of the drug addictions and stuff like that, and knowing that I can connect with people nowadays and be like, oh, I was in your position. I know where you, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. I can say, well, I was an alcoholic. To this day, I still tell people I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict, so I can relate to them. And there's a lot of people that are indigenous that don't know how to express that part of themselves yet.
I am 19 years old and I've been in Canada for over 11 years. I came here when I was 8 with my entire family. So my 2 sisters and my parents, and yeah, we came here. We were originally from Congo, but we lived in Zambia for a long period of time. And then we moved here, of course. Yeah, so living in Canada has been a very good experience for me. Obviously, I spent most of my life here, so it's all I know. But I would say that the biggest kind of challenge from that was kind of learning when to not assimilate and when to assimilate. I think especially coming when you're really young, it kind of gets you a weird concept because you're in between 2 cultures in a way, because you're so susceptible to Canadian culture and like the way young people around you act and talk and things, but you also have your parents and their way of doing things and the culture that you saw when you were younger. And so it's a bit of a disconnect, being like, how do I manage these 2 halves and these 2 sides to me? I think I managed it, one, by just kind of allowing myself to, one, be proud of the culture I am from, and as well being okay with taking the things I like from both cultures and making them who I am.
So I arrived in Canada as a foreign student in Quebec, so I'm French speaking. And so I have attended university before coming to Canada. So I had an engineering degree from Senegal. And also, when I came in Canada, I was doing a master. After I graduated, I moved to Calgary. When I arrived in Calgary, we didn't have many Senegalese people here. I believe we have 2 families, and I didn't know them. So we have some challenges. Every immigrant here arrive here, especially if you are French speaking. Even though I was very good in English, your accent is a challenge.
In the year 2000, I was landed immigrant in Quebec, and that was a renaissance for me, because as an Afghan woman, I had lots of hardship, lots of difficulties. So in 2012, our family decided to come to Calgary, and because, for my husband, it was a bit difficult also to learn French. He used to live in Toronto it was a bit difficult. Like, English, like French is a challenging language, then we moved here. My kids were young at that time. Coming to Calgary, it was like coming to a new country. Although it was within the same country, but it looked as if I was in a new country. The language was different, the culture, and so many things was new for me here. Coming to here also, I started, to find my way towards those resources to be able to support the community. So I met Rosbina Natu, who is the founder and president of Focus on Seniors. And she right away hired me or recruited me as a volunteer. And I started working with her in supporting Afghan seniors through her organization.
The work of ActionDignity is guided by its vision for a Calgary that is just and equitable society for all. And the way we do our work is to collaborate with ethnocultural community organizations, with racialized organizations, and with equity-seeking group to achieve transformational changes. And how we envisage the transformational changes is within the 5 programming of ActionDignity. And these are gender equity, and we have public safety, we have mental health, we have social inclusion and economic empowerment, and we have workers' rights as well.
So our job helps to build capacity of community leaders as well through the workshops that we offer. There are times that we, have opportunity of, providing grants for these community members through our community action plan programs, because sometimes we get, funding from funding partners that we use in, providing small grants to these organizations. And we also help them as well beyond those grants. We also provide support for them when they write proposals for grant funding to funding partners. So we build their capacity. We act as charitable partners, for those organizations so that they could get what they need to get from the community, from the funding partners.
Being a part of ActionDignity and everything like that, like it's just been so eye-opening and oh wow.
A training came up from ActionDignity called leadership training, and I don't remember how I was connected with ActionDignity, but I took that training with Lynn, and it was amazing. And then when Lynn found out that I have already a group of single moms, Lynn was very impressed that I already have a bigger group and so on. Like, why don't you register? They assisted me to register and gave some trainings and so on. And Calgary Single Mothers Society is founded about almost 2 years.
I got connected to ActionDignity through a Colombian friend, Fabian. We are creating an NGO right now that is going to tell the story of the relation between Canada and Latin America. And through ActionDignity, we're expecting to work together, not only to get funding, but to get support in order to develop this project, because it's going to be educational. And I'm a fan of knowing that history has to be taught, history has to be known in order, to move in life. And if we know how the history of the relation between Canada and Latin America has developed, we can learn a lot of things that are going to improve the current relationship between our countries.
And then I found out about ActionDignity, and I joined that group. And over there, I really loved it because we were a bunch of all immigrants and all of different ethnic cultures, and we all got together and organized these events. It was really fun. We had a couple of stampede breakfasts for about 600 people, and we managed to find funds for all these people. And we had a really elaborate stampede breakfast, and we did all these cultural programs. We had a few cultural programs here at the library. The library used to have a really big theater, the old library, and we did a lot of cultural programs there. And I also ended up joining the Calgary Multicultural Center and helping them out too with all the programs and stuff, because I was really interested in arts.
So she contacted ActionDignity and was able to have a partnership with ActionDignity. And since then, we have ActionDignity has been very helpful. We were able to get some grant from through ActionDignity for board. I believe one of the courses is going to happen today at 7. The second one of the courses that we were able to have a grant to fund that training for our board.
A point in time where I can say that really made me think of putting my two cultures together was probably also in ActionDignity. Funny enough, we were doing poetry kind of like spoken poetry thing, and it was the first time doing something creative in that way. And it was talking about like obviously coming to Canada and things like that. And I think that was the time when I was probably like 13-ish, where I had to write a poem about those two cultures. And I think that's when I realized that my two cultures are really good and they coexist and they can work together, especially seeing other people, because most of the people in the program were actually older than me. So seeing those people, how they interacted, how they used their two cultures really impacted me personally and made me think, I can go through and be my own person.
Afghan seniors were the most isolated. We brought them, to our community events. We brought them to socialize with other community members. And Rosbina did lots of efforts, to support Afghan community. Through those activities, I was hired by ActionDignity as community connector. And for 5 years, I worked at ActionDignity. And that was the very first time that we engaged Afghan community for those focus group discussions. We brought them to so many sessions about awareness on healthcare, on mental health, parenting, and we did a big project through Calgary Foundation in ActionDignity. IMGA was also there, and also Alberta Health Services. We had this Sound Mind, Sound Body project that successfully was, it was a pilot project, and it was done in Farsi, all those sessions to Afghan community members.
I got involved in ActionDignity when I was about maybe 11, 12. They did lots of programs with another organization called Antics, which did a lot of photography and just art programs for youth, especially racialized youth and immigrant youth. So it was really nice to be there. So I did a lot of projects, like poetry projects and plays and things like that with them. And then I took a couple years off, and right now I'm with doing the YCLT, so the Youth Community Leadership Team, as well as BAG, which is the Black Advisory Group. I would say that ActionDignity has impacted me because it has given me a sense of community in this place and allowed me to not only show my leadership, but also kind of just give me a place to harness my skills that I have. And yeah, that's just all the skills and all the things ActionDignity has provided for me, for sure.
Her journey reminds us of the need to epitomize identity, culture, and how to harness two cultures to one's own advantage. It is important to learn that every story contributes to a brighter future for all. These stories continue to unfold, shaping lives, communities, and futures, and show us what is possible when we do not give up, but resolve to make a difference. Their stories are not just theirs, they're ours too. We all have a role to play. Each one of us is responsible for the quality of the community we live in. We all play a role in building our community and our future. The implication is that we have to address the root causes of community issues and break systemic barriers. At the core of this is to know and advance your rights, support community action plans and events, and join policy advocacy meetings. We must act for our rights and our beliefs. We can all demonstrate our support and the value and respect we have for each other with every interaction and at every moment.